Getting poor traffic on a new merchant account, whether you're building a brand or whatever, if you're getting poor traffic out of the gate, you're going to have bad transactions. It's just that simple.
Many times people don't know what the wrong way is.
Yeah.
And if we got a lot of entrepreneurs here that are trying to start a brand or something along that line, the one thing I will tell you guys is get merchant depth. You need to make sure you have more than just a few payment gateways, we'll call it.
You either position yourself as, I guess, quote unquote, Walmart or Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Do you want to be competing with everybody, discounting constantly, or do you want to just raise your price, become a luxury brand, kind of repurpose your branding and take advantage of an entirely different market? And I think all is leading to the fact that a lot of people aren't spending money right now. There is going to be a group of people that is, and they're willing to spend more for the products that they really want, especially if they perceive them to have higher value.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Good job. Brian, Tim, Matt, and Steve. These photos must have been 42 years ago. God, you guys look good. You guys haven't aged a bit. Let's check these mics. Let's make sure we're able to speak into it.
All right, stop it, Brock, already.
This is gonna get rowdy over here.
I need like an anti-anxiety.
I'll give you a beer. I'll give you a breeze. Who do we have on stage, and what are we doing today, brother?
What are we doing? We're just going to get real, right? Having some regular conversation. I think we'll all learn from it, but we'll see where it goes from there. But I will introduce the panel if you're good with it. Are you ready to roll?
Let's rock it.
All right, let's rock and roll. All right, so first of all, my name is Brian Bolerjack. I am the Vice President of Sales for Checkout Champ. I like long walks on the beach and sharing drinks at Bill Cosby's house. Those are my favorite things. But I'm gonna introduce a panel. This is where it gets good. Man on the end, he's the most famous ex-Lucha Libre wrestler that can still fit in his outfit. Ladies and gentlemen, multi-store owner, Steve Bateman.
Yeah, well.
Yep. Right.
Next.
You got some lovers out there. And then we're going to move on to probably the most famous guy on the panel. He still drives a 97 Honda Accord with 300,000 miles on it. Ladies and gentlemen, the owner of Trinity Payments, Tim Vint. Stop it. You got fans. Now we're going to move on to the other guy. This one's kind of shady. So he built a proven system to pull strippers out of the strip club without spending a dollar. Ladies and gentlemen, the yes man, and he owns Yes Feel Good Drinks, Matt Kellum.
True story.
All right. So what I felt like doing is we all want to learn at these things, right? Maybe we come to these things and we take one or two things away, maybe just a little tidbit here and there. So I think the main thing is failures. I felt like I've learned a lot from failures over the year, which actually brings you success. If you can teach someone to not hit those stumbling blocks, that's where I think we should probably start. So the fun stuff, failures. I want to hit each one of you up and ask you, what do you think you could tell the crowd to kind of help them avoid those stumbling blocks? What failures have you had in the last year or a couple years? And why don't we start with the wrestler on the end?
Following the chats today, following the speakers the last couple of days, we're dealing with the same thing they are. I think in our world, I run offers, I don't run a brand. I'm moving to a brand. I'm really hoping to have a decent brand up and running shortly. But we did $15 million last year in offers. Keto, that kind of thing, the stuff that nobody in this room wants to talk about. But the market shifts underneath you and you don't know where it goes. So it's something you have to be mindful of. We're probably in the tube for about 400K this year so far. In loss in traffic, loss in refunds have gone way up. So if there's anyone in the room that's starting a brand or starting to just kind of get out of the hole, be very careful as you launch. Try to launch in this environment, I think, as organically as possible. Try to really measure your ROI, really not just your ROI, your positioning, where you're going to attract your customer, what your customer looks like. And I just said to the guys before we walked up on the stage, I said, I know one thing after leaving this show, I'm going to call up at least 50, if not 100 of our recent cancellations and find out what's triggering that, where we dropped the ball. We can assume a few things, but in our world we measure everything, and we are currently trying to understand where exactly we're bleeding so that some of our traffic sources are refunding at a rate of 38%. So it could speak to, we could assume it's product quality, we could assume it's slow fulfillment, we could assume a lot of things, but unless we get deep into it, talk to the customer and find out, just like the last panel said, what's really going on, we won't know. But we know it's correctable, and we think we can move forward coming out of this.
And this is done on the customer service side, so let's say...
No, we'll do that internally at the management level. We're not that big a company. If I hand that to a customer service agent, I'm going to get very cookie cutter, meaningless kind of data, maybe some check boxes and so forth. I think the CMO and the marketing team that I kind of head up are going to be who takes that on. I can use customer service; they're great, but
So if they disposition, right? They disposition all the cancellations, then obviously it gives you a good idea of what that call is going to look like when you make it.
Our product can refund at 20% all day long, and in the world we're in running offers, we can still make a really strong margin. When that refund rate goes to 38%, that just took out 18% of our profit.
Yeah.
So it makes the offer quite ugly.
Awesome.
So we'll fix that. That's what I'm getting at.
How about you, Yes Man? What problems have you had?
The biggest problem I've had in the last year is I've typically always run info offers and digital products, and I moved into manufacturing and creating an actual consumable. And I think lacking patience and not understanding that it's a totally different business really hurt us early on.
Yeah.
And we kind of jumped a little too quickly with certain manufacturers, with certain fulfillment agencies, and just didn't really vet them properly to make sure that they could do the things that we really wanted the right way, the first time. And that set us back quite a bit. It actually ate up a lot of our last year. 2023 was pretty rough because we were basically playing from behind the whole time because we didn't do the things right the first time. We thought we could just jump in and, hey, it's not going to be any different. We know how to write copy, we know how to sell something.
Yeah.
But it's really not up to us. There's so many other factors when you start manufacturing a consumable product that you really need to dial in exactly what you want, and you need to be very clear on that with them from the very beginning, or you can get stuck with a lot of...
Definitely different from an info product, having to add that initial fulfillment manufacturing.
Yeah, I thought, hey, I'll just write a VSL, sales page, whatever, we'll put this thing up and we'll find a manufacturer and be ready to go in 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the case at all. There's a lot of processes they have to go through when you're selling something that people are consuming in their bodies. There's got to be approval, there's got to be third-party testing, and everything takes a lot longer than you think.
Sure.
And it not only does it take longer, things come up and they're like, hey, one of your ingredients made the drink a little too bitter, so we went ahead and just added sucralose. And I said, well, that's not something I wanted. I don't want to sell sucralose. And they're like, well, it's a little too late now. If you want to restart the whole process and spend 3 more months testing new things, we can do that. But I don't want to do that. So it puts you in a really kind of like a pickle. You don't know how to get out of it, and you paint yourself in a corner. So it's really important that you have these conversations up front and you tell them exactly where your lines are and not to cross them, and you set things up properly.
And you don't want to compromise the quality of your product, especially if you're using that brand and they want to throw something in there that you're like, I don't
then you're associated with that.
No compromise.
You might sell all those customers on the front end, but now they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
And that's a problem later on. You leave a bad taste in your mouth with the customers you do have, and it's really hard to kind of expand and scale from there because now you have to start fresh every time you do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then this can be a little bit different on the payment side. So I'm kind of curious to hear this. What kind of failures do you think they could learn from on the payment side, Tim?
Oh boy. So this year, actually probably the last 18 months, auth ratios. So these guys, along with probably most of the people sitting in the room here that run a brand or run a website of any kind, you spend a lot of money to get a conversion. You spend a lot of money to get a customer to your site that makes a transaction. The last thing you need is some AI software on the back, which is managed by the issuing side of the banking system. So you're coming to a merchant processor like myself, you think you have, 700 conversions, and boom, all of a sudden your 700 conversions turns out to be 400 conversions.
Or
and if you're running
200.
you're running a subscription model, a month later you're at 40 conversions. 2 months later you're at 20 conversions. So, at the end of the day, it's been a cat and mouse game. So we've kind of identified some ways to get ahead of the AI that's managing and tracking a lot of the activity that's happening on the front end. But it's been a fun challenge.
Well, you've had some success, because I've seen some of our clients that are using you that started having a lesser of a decline rate. So I'm going to shift into that really quickly, because I want to focus on you for this piece. In fact, I got a short story, actually. He was trying to order Matt's product last night, and he looks over at me and he's like, I'm getting declined. Like, why am I getting declined? I got money on my card. So it kind of proved itself in real time when we were talking about the declines and what AI can do to essentially block you from buying a product when you're not a fake customer. He was and think about this. If he was legitimately a customer that just found Matt's product, yes, feel good drink, yes, man, he would literally have left. He would not have tried 3 different times and ended up paying through Venmo, because he couldn't get the transaction to go through because of the new AI that's in there. So kudos to you. Don't know the secret sauce, but I'm love that we got a little taste of it, because you've been able to see some success there. So I'm not going to make you dive into that, okay? Because I don't want you to have the secret sauce coming up. So I want to move on to subscriptions, right? So one of the best things that I've seen some of the larger brands that are on our platform, since our platform is built to manage subscriptions and subscription management, I think it's probably the best way on the planet to generate new customers, because you're not spending those additional dollars to bring a customer in. They're already in, you already sold them, they're in, they love you, they're a member, right? Hopefully they love you. So with that being said, I think I'm going to start with Matt on this one, because I know that you were thinking about starting a subscription aspect to your product coming up. How do you see that looking in the future, and how do you think that could probably, how it's going to help your business?
Yeah, I think it's going to just 100x our business over the next couple of years. The reason why we didn't do it to start, I told you a month ago, we just launched, we just had some organic posts on TikTok go viral. I started seeing the sales come in, going into the hundreds a day, and I was like, this is probably not the right time to go subscription, because we do not have the manufacturing ready to crank out another few 100,000 of these products. So
sure.
We purposely did not offer it at the start, and we did sell out. We're gone now. But when the new stuff comes in and we have the fulfillment process in order, and this goes back to what I just said a few minutes ago, having that relationship with the right company is a huge deal. Knowing that at any moment you can say, hey, I need another 500,000 of these like in 2 weeks. It's really important. So we're moving to the subscription-based model. We're going to be launching stick packs in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and I think it's going to just really elevate the brand to another level, because like you said, you don't have to spend the money to acquire the customer again. And that's a huge deal. And right now, we're doing that. We're spending money to acquire customers. We're profitable on the front end. It's doing really well. But if I could just have those guys recurring every single 2 weeks,
sure.
I mean, we can start compounding and scaling like crazy. So I'm really excited for that to happen, and building those relationships is key.
How long did it take you to sell out?
33 days.
Awesome. I like that. All right, Steve, what about your subscriptions?
You want to talk subscriptions. You want to find out how to see an offer degrade. You get into a business where the customer is delighted with the product, they'll reorder from you. You've got a strong brand, you've got strong imaging, whatever you've got that tells the story. I think customers will come back.
Yeah.
Earlier today when Taylor spoke in the morning, he showed a graph at one point that showed a large gray area of customers by volume at the top. And he said, those relationships are burned. Those relationships are done. And in our world, that's what happens. We have a tremendous amount of data when you run offers that are not really brand centric. And that's why we're shifting. We're shifting to something where, and we're not sure what we're going to do. Right now, there's different things out there in the world I live in, like gummy based, CBD based, things that most of the people at this show are not really promoting. You got pet products, you got other things that where customers, you hope, will love your product. When you bank on something like what Matt is banking on, and that's your nest egg. That's what you're building as your brand equity.
Yeah.
Then you've got something to work for, and you should do everything you can to keep that customer. What we find when you run offers, and that offer is somewhere where someone makes an impulse buy, the Snuggie, for example. How many Snuggies were you going to buy if you bought the first one?
I love
Are you
Snuggies.
delighted with the first Snuggie?
I love Snuggies. I'm not
at
gonna
some
lie.
point you hit a critical mass.
Yeah, one for me and one for Nana. That's it.
One for Nana, one for me.
You're gonna,
Then we get
after you buy one
little
for,
Snuggie, don't look at me, bro.
After you buy one for Nana, and a bunch of other people, you're not going to buy anymore. So what I'm getting at is you exhaust that customer lifetime value equity.
Yeah.
And what we're finding now, and it's changed in the last 3 years, even a year ago, we could get what we would call a couple of turns out of a customer. So if we bought 1,000 customers, 500 of them might renew.
Yeah.
And again, we use Checkout Champ for that reason, right? We use the rebill systems and everything that are inherent to that process. Now we're not seeing that ratio returning. People are getting upset with certain products if they don't love them quicker. So I think for the message to people that are in the room is, if you can get your tribe, the people that are buying your product, to love your product, to enjoy using it and reorder. So I was just talking to Matt before we came up. I said, I got to move to consumables. Consumables at the level where people love it, they want it, they can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's what I want to go to. And whether that's pet consumables, consumables for people, whatever. You can target elderly, something along that line. What different people at different phases in life. Even my wife, showed me something a little while ago. She said she had jewelry that was just basically cheap costume jewelry, but because sometimes she wears the real thing, it looks like people assume it's the real deal. And she says, don't worry, I burn through it within 60 days. I just order more of it off of Amazon if it breaks or if it discolors. But I can wear it to the gym, and I'm like, you are the primary customer.
Yeah.
You are a pure customer of what I want. Someone just keeps ordering that same necklace or that same wristband over and over again. It's only $20, but the LTV on that customer, if it's my wife, is like $80 to $300.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing. The rebills in the world we came from that started in the, let's say 2021, because everyone keeps going back to that, just aren't there anymore. And brand loyalty, product quality, building that tribe. I learned a lot this week just about how to really make sure you reconnect with the customers.
Yeah, and you can use some tools. I mean, even if it does create cancellations from the customer calling in or canceling through email or whatever, there are some tools that you can use, like the recycled billing tool, where you're, like our platform, and I think others have it too, but you can set it to if they decline due to insufficient funds, you can keep that customer active and push through a reattempt a couple days later. So if insufficient funds
decline salvage. I don't know if the people here are running this kind of volume or not, but if we weren't doing decline salvage, we wouldn't make enough money to even make the ad spend worth it.
Yeah, that's why I was.
So we have to have
that
that salvage just to get us there. Yeah.
And an account updater, so expired cards, and obviously you want to make sure that you're not trying to bill an expired card. You're automatically getting that expiration date. There.
The nuts. I'll jump in here.
Yeah.
The nuts and bolts on how to run these businesses is a lot different than just having a really cool dog bed. If you sell a nice dog bed on Amazon, you might have a product there that's quite sticky that people love, but they'll probably only buy the dog bed from you once, maybe twice. You'd be better off in that product maybe sending out referral discounts and other sort of some things to monetize those customers. But you want to get that first payment, like what happened to Tim the other night, right in front of all of us.
Yeah.
Declining on a product he wants, on a product the customer wants. You got to find a tool that will allow you to go back 24 hours later or whatever and tell the customer, we're going to try and run this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And whether that's over your landing page or over an SMS campaign, something where it says, don't worry, customer, we got you. We're going to try.
Yeah.
Shows a lot of loyalty to the customer too.
So like even a send lane sequence, right? You can set up a send lane sequence for those follow-ups, which definitely helps. But
shout out to send lane.
So I want to swing back to something really quickly. You mentioned it earlier, but I'm looking at you again, Matt, and I'm going to get to you, Tim. Relax and don't touch me.
He's a bank. He'll always be there.
No, so Matt was talking earlier. I asked him about TikTok, and it seems like in the room, at least through the entire 2 days so far. I feel like some people like the TikTok shop and some people don't, right? So I didn't really know how I felt about it. I asked Matt. He said he loves it. Why do you love it, Matt?
Yeah, so I love TikTok Shop specifically because they're kind of a new addition to TikTok, and they're really pushing traffic. But I love TikTok more, and the reason isn't just the shop. I get why people dislike it and say you have to do massive discounts to compete. You know, all the customers on there, like the main demographic really is 18 to 25-year-old women.
Sure.
That's who's buying the most products. So if you're not selling something directly to that, it can be difficult. You need to discount a lot. But for me, it's not necessarily about that. For me, TikTok is a once-in-a-generation platform that's allowing me to test so many different pieces of copy and ads
Quickly
yeah. For free. So every ad that I run, I start as an organic post on TikTok. I post it 5 different times with different intros, different 4-second intros, different hooks. And the one that performs the best, if it really performs well, I'll immediately put it on Facebook as an ad. And for some reason, if it works on TikTok organic, it is gonna work on Facebook and YouTube, is what I've found. And it's not necessarily the same when it's the other way around. Something
Sure.
like when I started, I was like, oh, I've been doing Facebook ads for 10 years. I know what I'm doing. I'll just put this on TikTok and make a bunch of money. Not the case. Never worked. Same with YouTube. But from TikTok to the other platforms, the things that perform organically, they scale really well on Meta and Google. And I just don't think there's a better place, an easier place to test things for free at that level of scale.
No, I agree.
It's crazy. And I love it. I'm going to use it until it's burnt out completely.
Yeah, and it completely gives you kind of a ground level how's this going to perform on other platforms, because it's so easy and quick to test it on TikTok Shop. So I kind of agree with you on that, but I'm on the fence too, so I need more convincing.
Listen, hey,
I'm going to talk to more people and see if somebody could convince me, but you're pretty close.
Brian, we have friends in our industry that there's an entire ecosystem out there that runs offers similar to what I do. As opposed to the really sexy and cool branded type stuff that you guys are into. And they have run TikTok product in that very valuable 18 to 25 demographic female in that jewelry type world that we talked about, to the tune, I mean, of very quick scaling to, 6-7 figures very fast. And they're getting repeat business in that world. So
that's great.
Don't count it out. I mean, I'm going to look it out. I'm a Canadian, by the way, so I said out.
Yeah, you guys heard
I said out.
It's not your fault, man.
He's out in a boat.
I said the word out, and I call it a niche.
I dare you to mispronounce, what is it, Montreal?
Montreal.
I dare you to try
Tirana?
and mispronounce that in front of Steve.
Tirana.
Don't do it.
It's a foyer, not a foyer. These guys call me a snowman.
There are 3 people in the back that actually can understand it.
Yeah,
so.
good point. Yeah, there's maybe 3 people understand Canadian. So now, last thing for Tim, I think I want to go over, you guys are doing a lot of merchant applications, at least for our customers. I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you're doing it for a lot of people, but once somebody gets that approval, what is the best few things that somebody could do to make sure they keep those merchant accounts live and active? How can they keep them healthy, right? Is there something that you would literally grab one of your clients and shake the hat off their head and say, if you had just listened to me about this, you'd be fine? What is this? What is that thing?
Well, a couple things is, there's actually a lot, but
pick 2.
one of the main things is the last thing you want is you're going to get chargebacks, you're going to get refunds. You don't want your chargeback reason code to be fraud. You don't want it to be non-receipt of goods. Those are things that essentially stick in the algorithm of the AI.
Okay.
So your objective is to be as clean as you can up front. Obviously, MCCs are important, but getting poor traffic on a new merchant account, whether you're building a brand or whatever, if you're getting poor traffic out of the gate, you're going to have bad transactions. It's just that simple.
So watching the traffic, watching the analytics, making sure your decline rates aren't spiking, checking your fraud tools.
Your best bet is to utilize a platform like Checkout Champ to make sure that your products are being fulfilled, right? Because you have your notifications.
I hear it's great.
It's pretty good, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's really about that initial month, because merchant deterioration, we call it mid-deterioration, happens very rapidly if you run your business the wrong way out of the gate.
Sure.
And many times people don't know what the wrong way is.
Yeah.
And if we got a lot of
great point.
entrepreneurs here that are trying to start a brand
Great
or
point.
something along that line, the one thing I will tell you guys is get merchant depth. You need to make sure you have more than just a few payment gateways, we'll call it, merchant accounts, Visa, MasterCard accounts. The reason is it sounds great to put everything in one merchant account and ramp that merchant account up to, let's say, $4 or $5 million a month. Until one day it closes and you don't know why, and you
Like a
don't
Stripe
have
account.
and unannounced,
Yeah.
and you don't know why, or even worse, you had a really strong Black Friday because we're going into Q4, and that merchant account closed after you just sold $200,000 in product,
Sure.
which is now being shipped, and you're not getting the revenue deposited.
Yeah.
And you don't know why the bank did that. And sometimes the bank will release that money, sometimes the bank will open up. I can speak to this for days. It's crushed many an entrepreneur because you think, it's a bank. I'm just doing my job. I'm selling my regular product, my dog beds like I talked about. And sometimes the bank will lock down on that saying, well, you've never done 50,000 in dog bed sales in one day before. So we assume that's fraud. And that's the way the bank, and I don't mean Tim at the level his company is, but at the risk level of certain banks, they get a little schizo. And what I found, a lot of the people that talked at the show the last 2 days, very much on the marketing and the sales side of the business, but not that many of them on the pain points of the banking side of the business and making sure you get paid.
Yeah.
And these are important conversations to have because you need depth, you need backup, you need, if you've got 5 merchant accounts, you can't just leave one on the shelf very long. You got to sprinkle sales into all 5 of those, for example. You can get 5 merchant accounts under one LLC, under your corporation, under your name, and that's where a guy like Tim comes into play, and that's where he can help you. Because if you close an LLC, for example, or you can't bill on a merchant account, let's say you've only got one Chase, let's say you're foolish enough to work just with Bank of America, and they give you your one merchant account and everything's going great for 6 months. Now you got momentum, everything's going really well, and BOA, as I call them, decides to close and constrict on your account.
Yeah.
You will have a hard time going to another bank and saying, I need a merchant account fast. Well, they'll say, let's see your statements. What's going on with the one you've got already? See, it looks here like you've been shut down. You got to get all of that built out ahead of time if you're a small business.
Even if for no reason. Even if it's for no reason.
Even if you don't use them, they don't cost you anything to have them. Set them up, build some depth into your organization. If your brand takes off and it's really sexy and it does really well, you may never need them. You might only need 1 or 2 merchant accounts in your entire career. Back in the day, I'm a little bit older than the average bear in this room. Guys would run 50 million a year through one merchant account. That doesn't usually happen anymore.
Yeah.
So you need processing depth if you're going to go out there, build something that's exciting, and you need to have your ducks in a row. So what Tim talked about, you can set up strategies, and there's people that can help you with this, where you sprinkle a little bit of sales into each of the merchant accounts, and you warm them up together through a month or through a series of months, and you have a backup that you just don't use yet. And when the bank says, why aren't you using that one? We're going to use it soon, don't worry.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a good point.
Accounts don't always get shut down, but what Tim was trying to tell you that most of you don't know is if you keep attempting people that didn't process like Tim did the other day, that decline over and over again starts to degrade, and we call it merchant account decay. It will decay your ability to process new transactions.
Yeah, so you'll get.
So I don't know if I got all weird and
declines.
got real deep there, but that's the kind of thing that will happen to you as you scale your business.
Yeah.
And not a lot of that got talked about this show. This show is all about it's all about Black Friday. It's about going out there and grabbing the biggest piece of the pie.
Getting the
But
sales.
Smaller businesses need to have it all covered. Just like Matt said, fulfillment needs to be covered. Fulfillment cost me at least $200,000 this year by shipping 18 days late. And I didn't know that until about day 35. It took us a while to do an investigation and find out why the chargebacks and the cancellations just spiked. And our product, I pay somebody. You have one job, ship. Just ship the product. And so there's a lot of facets
I know a
to running a
product that
business
could have
like
fixed
this.
that.
Yeah. Correct.
What?
I know a product that could have fixed that.
I know one. Could have checked it. I'm going to get a little greedy real quick. I want to talk about my favorite topic. I want to talk about upsells. I want to talk about increasing the average order value. So we had a conversation, and I push this a lot. I push it a lot, and I say, if you're not doing order bumps, I think it's crazy. If you're not doing one-click upsell, post-purchase stuff, I think it's insane, because basically those are things that increase your average order value without affecting your conversion rate. So we were having this discussion and said, Matt, what are you doing for order bump? Basically, he said, well, I used to offer a priority shipping, right? He had a priority shipping, free priority shipping right on the page, right? What he ended up doing was taking out the free part and adding a checkbox auto-populated by the button, which so it's compliant, but it was there. He was just giving away this product, right? Because it's priority shipping, it's a product.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's $4.95 and it's pre-populated. Everybody wants priority shipping. So essentially you just raised your average order value by $5 by doing literally nothing, not adding a new SKU, nothing, right?
What did they charge? What was the upcharge on the priority shipping?
$4.95, right?
Yeah, I tested multiple things. Right now we're at $7 for the cans and $4.95 for powder.
Sweet.
But by adding that, it really helped because cans are not cheap to ship, and I offer free shipping no matter what. So adding that $7 really helped kind of expand our margin when it comes to meta ads. And believe it or not, just a simple thing as adding a $7 priority shipping, adding a few dollars AOV, really helped our buying power on getting a customer. And if we're not losing money up front and people are rebuying and rebuying and rebuying, that tremendously helps us scale. So that's a very small tweak that is a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely. And you can do those certain things. Like we had people that were doing like a 60-day money-back guarantee, right? And we were like, just put a checkbox there and run a split test, because, like with our system, you can run the, 4-way split test, A, B, C, and D, which is insane. So you'll go in here and say, all right, we're gonna test this price point, we're gonna test this upsell, we're gonna test this one. And we noticed that most of the tests, and when I say most, I don't want to say all, because let's say it might be 99.8%. If they add that little checkbox there, people want that money-back guarantee, right? Let's say they're ordering a gadget, right? They want that 60-day money-back guarantee. Charge them $3.99.
There's a reason why insurance is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It's a huge business, right? So that's kind of what it is. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to move on to this is not going to be a fun one for anybody, but the current state of economics, right? I want to see how you guys feel about how that's affecting conversions right now and also price points, because we know the economy is where it is right now. I think everybody is aware. So do you feel like that's affecting your conversion rate when
I think the meta environment and in the verticals that we reside in got hammered this year by demand on traffic. Our guarantee, in some cases we had to guarantee earnings per click for some of the pubs that we were working with. It never works well when you guarantee earnings per click, by the way, in our world anyway. We do a CPA model. I'll pay you X if you deliver X. The minute I start paying for your traffic nonsense and the things that you're playing with and you're not really accountable anymore, you just create clicks.
Well, you're moving organic anyway.
It doesn't matter that it doesn't amount to anything. We in the world of AOV, let's talk about it, because that's what it really came down to. Our AOV is not doing bad. It's actually crept up in 2024. Crept up from, I think, an average of, I want to say, toddling around 235 on one of our product lines at the beginning of the year to then breaking 240 and 250. But our cancellation rate went up with it.
Sure.
So it was very interesting to, I'm a old school entrepreneur when it comes to this stuff. I'm 54 years old, and I've been doing this stuff since I was about 21. I don't mean online. I mean, we did it back in the old days with a rock and a hammer. Maybe not that bad, but it felt that way before technology took off.
Before you were a wrestler.
Right,
Yeah.
Before I went to jail. So the point was, the AOV has gone up. Chargebacks started to go up. Not really as bad, but more because our fulfillment nightmare we had. But we had an idea. We need more revenue on our average order. So we added order flow upsells, and some of them we own internally, but a couple we don't. And my concern, being around the amount of time I have been, is what's that pressure putting on the wallet, right? If I can get that AOV, it sounds great. If you can get the average order value to go from 235 all the way up to 270, a lot of people on my internal teams and marketing would think, wow, that's a win. And I'll sit back and say, let's see how it floats. Let's see how that works out for the next 30, 60 days. And that's a problem. It takes us that long to really see whether things were a win or not.
So how it affects the customer's wallet.
Oh yeah, how it affects the long-term life of that customer, whether you get that rebill out of them or not, whether it triggers an early cancellation. There's a lot of brains on this panel the last couple of days, and they were talking about how they track this stuff. Some of those companies are pretty decent in size. When you're a smaller company, it's hard to know as fast as you want to know whether something's going to work out or not.
Yeah.
But we got our AOV up to like 265, so $30.
But
So
you saw more the effect from the economy on the back end where the cancellations happened, right? Not on the initial front
Something
side.
happened this year. I really paid close attention to the speakers that have talked over the last couple of days, and something has gone on this year. I think we're in a much tighter economic state than anybody wants to talk about. I know in Canada, where I'm from, the government's doing everything it can to hide the real impact of an economic downturn. They're hiring internally. Our civil servant volume exploded while the private sector shrunk.
Yeah.
So I'm mindful of that, right? We're looking at, Tim and I were talking earlier today saying, should you increase spend right now in this kind of thing, or should you pull back? What should you do? There was guys that got up earlier today that said right sizing of the company. There is a right sizing of every corporation.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Where added spend does not equate, I don't know where my voice is going, does not equate to increased volume. So anyway, those are for
do you have anything to add, or do you want me to go to the payments guy?
I'll just say I do think we have a unique opportunity to kind of re-examine what our brands are in this state of the economy, because you either position yourself as, I guess, quote unquote, Walmart or Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Do you want to be competing with everybody, discounting constantly, or do you want to just raise your price, become a luxury brand, kind of repurpose your branding and take advantage of an entirely different market? And I think if it all is leading to the fact that a lot of people aren't spending money right now, there is going to be a group of people that is, and they're willing to spend more for the products that they really want, especially if they perceive them to have higher value.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, so there's an opportunity to reposition as more of a luxury brand and still be successful in the current market.
It's actually a really good point. I mean, I like the price point talk. You do get what you pay for. So a lot of people do want the premium product. So on the payment side, how have you seen this affect approvals, or I'm talking like merchant approvals? Like, have you seen, a lot more poor credit out there when people are coming to get it?
A lot more poor credit.
Okay.
In all reality, we're at the highest personal consumer debt on the planet that we've ever had. And it's growing at exponential rates. Interestingly enough, talking about some of the, let's call it the 2020 to 2023 purchasers, most of those people don't have any limit on their credit cards anymore. So the big spenders that would just buy on anything they would see on Amazon, Facebook or TikTok or whatever, the big bulk of those people are broke.
Yeah.
So, that kind of minimizes the ability. I loved what I heard earlier about, the high end versus the low end product set. Because just to tell a quick story, a friend of ours, dog walker here in San Diego, price point of $60 to walk your dogs for the day. Wasn't too busy, not a ton of activity. Raised the price point to $250 and is busy all day long, because people think you're a high-end experienced dog walker.
You're the dog walker.
You have made yourself premier, right? And even though it's the same person walking the same dogs, it's a mindset. So the people that still have the money that are willing to spend are going to spend on what they want to spend on, right? And so that's kind of the target is to figure out what the people that still have the money are wanting to spend it on. Because if you're focused on that same group from 2020 that was just given a bunch of free money, that group's broke. You know,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
they don't have the same financial capacity that they once did. So
The COVID money's gone, right?
the COVID money's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been spent.
Agreed. So, well, I mean, we can wrap up now. I want to thank you guys for joining me on the panel. I know I just met you guys out front. Half of you guys were begging for change, but anyway, no, this was cool. I like it. I think it was good information. So I appreciate all the input from all you guys. And then I guess, Nick, you want to open up for questions?
Absolutely. If we have any, we got two
not?
hands up here on the left. All right, firework boy, here we go.
Not Josh Rowe. Not that guy.
Hey guys, not so much a question, just a compliment. Steve, what you said about mitigating your risk across multiple merchant accounts, I'm really surprised that more people don't know about that and more people don't do that. We've been through the ringer on that. I think we have like 3 layers of protection right now. And if one of the merchant accounts falls through, you literally just plug in the API code into your Shopify payment setting, flip the switch, and you're live in 30 seconds. So, you know, anyone that has any risk there, and I think that's probably anyone selling online right now, crucial point that you made, and I would just echo that to anybody who, you know, would have any risk behind their payment processor falling out on them, their merchant account falling out on them.
Well, I appreciate that. My wife watched me have the first anxiety attack of my life. I'm not kidding.
No, I
was
can
debilitated. I thought I was going to die when one of our
Totally.
first merchant accounts locked down on 50 grand and didn't settle.
I get it.
And I
It
said,
wasn't
what is
mine.
that?
It
What do you mean
wasn't
you're not
mine.
settling?
It wasn't yours.
That?
I said it wasn't mine.
Yeah. It wasn't one of Tim's merchant accounts.
No,
Thanks for clarifying,
We
Tim.
had one just fall out like right in the middle of peak season, and it's like midnight, and we're sitting there going, why do the orders just fall off, right? And of course, it's me on the phone, like calling authorize.net, calling the merchant account. What the hell's going on? Nobody knows because it's all a graveyard shift. But ultimately, we had a built-in redundancy. Just flip the switch, and you're back in business.
And you're doing a great job. Like, you're selling a good product. The bank doesn't always know that. And what
Right.
I think we're getting at here is this AI environment, as we're heading these algorithms, they might misinterpret your behavior.
They actually lump you with other businesses that look like your business. And it's terrifying because you may be running really well, but somebody else that just looks like you is running really poorly, and that AI confuses and gets, you know, a little eager to shut you down as well.
Totally. Thank you.
To the front.
Hey guys, first question for Brian. Does Checkout Champ integrate with BigCommerce?
We do. Yeah, we have BigCommerce, Shopify, WooCommerce, and Magento, even though not a huge fan of Magento.
Oh, perfect. I got to book a call then. My second question is, we're a jewelry brand. We're on BigCommerce. One thing we've noticed the past 3 months is the number of declined payments has gone up significantly, and the number of people trying to place fraudulent orders have went up significantly as well.
Yep.
What are some ways we can combat against these types of activities?
That's actually a really good question. So we have a tool, and I'm trying to look at you but not be weird. So we have a tool that you can actually put in. It's called ATRI. So it stands for Advanced Transaction Routing Interface. And basically what you can do on those initial transactions is we can actually scroll them through. To your point, if you have 4 merchant accounts in there, or 6 merchant accounts, or 20 merchant accounts, I don't care. If you're going through and you're trying to get that approval, and let's say one of the merchant accounts is set to decline it, I can automatically spin it between these other merchant accounts, even on the initial transactions, to make sure that I give you the highest probable approval rate, right? So that tool is pretty awesome.
Oh, wow. So if my first merchant account, let's say it has a bad score, or it's getting there,
Sure.
so the likelihood of
The likelihood of a decline is higher than
declining
maybe
is
the
pretty
next
high. Then if I have a second one that's like fresh and primed,
one. So we can spin it.
wow, okay. Damn, that's really cool. Okay.
I want
It's
to
cool, right?
I want to jump in really quick. There are, and not everybody understands this, especially when you're coming into the industry. Merchant accounts, the actual account itself might be judged by the same algorithm across the board. Who you gain that merchant account through, who the bank is that you're using, is very important when you're an online marketer. If you go into your bank branch and you get a merchant account, that thing will have fraud. 2 different ways they might look at it. No fraud alerts at all, and it might allow you to do all kinds of weird things till someday it just shuts down and you won't know why. Or you work with a what we call an ISO type bank, and that's what Tim is part of, and they control the risk of your account internally, they're able to kind of foster it and hang on to the account, and they take a lot of the risk internally themselves on you as a merchant. So they might keep you up, in most cases in my world, they keep us up much longer than what let's say a bricks and mortar bank might do.
Yeah.
And I sit here thinking everyone knows that, but then it occurred to me maybe they don't. And so again, if you're gonna do a 30 million plus brand, then you could probably end up in a bricks and mortar bank eventually, or maybe from the beginning, and you'll get lucky. But while you're gonna scale a brand to that level, you might be very well advised to have multiple banking solutions, all under the same corp, through different types of solution providers. Avoid aggregator accounts, avoid what are called payfacs. Don't get sucked into brokers sending you to really obscure solutions. Get a hold of Nick, get a hold of me, find out what banks are proficient at, and get a hold of Tim, at banking, a new solopreneur type person that's gonna run their own brand and build something up. Because you're gonna hit hiccups. You're gonna get people online saying your product's crap, even when it was great. In some cases, buyers are liars and they beat you up. So that's that. But lots of breadth with your banking.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question. Gentlemen, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, outside, bring it on in for the final. This is the grand. I've been waiting 3 years to get this panel together. Do agencies suck? You 5 people, get your butts on stage. Let's close this event out.